We want to go back to our top story again. As we mentioned earlier, there were many security breakdowns that allowed alleged terrorist Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab to board Flight 253. Joining us now from Washington is former Secretary of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge. Mr. Ridge, thanks for being with us this morning. Good morning.
Nice to join you. Thank you.
Just as you've been able to sort of sift through the information that has become available since the attack took place on Christmas Day, what has been primary on your mind?
Harry, when I became Secretary of Homeland Security, the biggest challenge was getting the law enforcement community and the intelligence community to share information with the Department of Homeland Security. The department itself does not it consumes information. We don't generate it. Mm-hmm. And the department only can act on information that it receives. And it seems between the Department of State, the Terrorist Screening Center, the information that should have been relayed to DHS about the father actually going to the embassy and talking about his son, I don't think that ended up where it needed to be acted upon. And I think that continues to be a real challenge. It's a cultural challenge. It's a need to know versus a need to share. And we don't have enough people hitting the send button over to DHS so they can act upon the information.
And this is a thing that's been endemic ever since the beginning, has it not? Because even, was it Michael Chertoff talked about as he was getting ready to leave office, that this balkanization of agencies incapable of really doing what needed to be done in terms of sharing information.
Well, it is a cultural phenomenon. It's existed for quite some time. I think it's a vestige from the Cold War era. But I mean, the remedies are twofold. One, you have to change the culture. Somebody has to hit the send button. But the other challenge is really a technical one. The fact that this individual's name was on a list of 500,000 is relatively immaterial. You and I presumably used credit cards during the holiday season. And in a nanosecond, they tell us whether or not our credit's good or bad. That same kind of system could be engineered and could be built in to TSA security procedures.
And I guess the question we're all asking ourselves is why there isn't anything, and we asked it earlier of Peter Hoekstra, if there are 500,000 names on a list, I mean, it's as easy as a swipe of a card. If you were Googling this guy, his name would come up on this watch list, for crying out loud.
Well, again, it's a matter of will. And perhaps with Peter Hoekstra and Peter King and several other members in a bipartisan way, when they return early on, this is a problem that needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed now. We have to go back to the same sense of urgency and concern that we had on September 12, 2001. I think we've lost that over the past 7 or 8 years.
Right. Very quickly, there are changes that the TSA has put in place, not being able to go to the bathroom in the last hour, the no blankets, the don't have anything on your lap. Do any of those things really make a difference?
Harry, they seem pretty arbitrary. It just seems to me that, for example, that hour delay, if you got a transatlantic flight and so you have all passengers sit in their seats for for the last hour, it doesn't seem like you've done anything to deter something from happening from the earlier 6 or 7. So some of these seem rather arbitrary. There are going to be some adjustments they're going to have to make, but the big adjustment is the information sharing. That would solve many of the problems that were encountered in this horrifying incident, which we were fortunate that a passenger acted quickly and the detonator didn't go off.
That's for sure. Tom Ridge, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good talking with you, Harry. Thank you.
Appreciate it.